This changes everything. NFL wide receiver Chase Claypool just dropped an Instagram post that proves what Bills fans have known for years. There's something different about Buffalo. His and other players' experiences in Buffalo will hopefully make every free agent look at Orchard Park in a whole new way. My name is Maeve Miller, and I'm a part of the Bills Digest team, so please subscribe to our Bills Digest YouTube channel for all the latest updates. I want to talk a little about his time with the Bills, which was very brief. So Claypool was originally drafted by the Steelers in 2020, and then he had a very successful rookie season, but was traded to the Bears in 2022 and then to the Dolphins in that same year until he ultimately signed with the Bills. And he did end up having an injury, and he stated this was a very recent post from just a couple of days ago, where he started talking on social media for the first time about his injury and his time. And he just talked about how it was his first season-ending injury since he started playing football. And he said, signing with Buffalo is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I was the strongest, fastest, and most prepared I've ever been. I was playing with my best football, working my way up from last to taking first-team reps by camp. Most of all, I was doing with a group of guys I really appreciated. And he goes on to shout out specific players, Josh Allen, AJ and Greg, O-line, and just all the coaches and staff, which honestly, that's not surprising for Bills fans. We know how strong the team and players, their chemistry is, but obviously it's still nice to hear, and especially when it's displayed out to the public. Obviously, he signed this one-year contract, but the Bills did ultimately release him after an injury, and he talks a little bit about that. He said, I tore a ligament and tendon in my second toe and have been rehabbing, working out, and recovering every day. And it was kind of sad to see, because I feel like he was kind of, in his prime. And when the Bills picked him up, it seemed like it'd be a good thing. But he has not played a season since 2023. And, he said in these last 2 years, he's been really working his way up. Obviously, the Bills do not have him anymore, but I feel like this was just a good kind of positive message about the Bills, the team, and the fans, and just kind of what they're really all about. And it just really shows how Buffalo is different. And, countless players have been saying that, and it's not just him. So that leads me into the next point, which is other positive experiences in Buffalo. And there has been a lot. We'll start off with Jordan Poyer. This is a player that, was very well known for the defense on the Bills. He really, I feel made a name for himself, and he just said, I think the culture and the type of guys that they bring in, meaning Beane and McDermott, it's such a unique group of guys, no prima donnas, no egos, it's guys who work really hard. I think to me that's the biggest change. He was just talking about how the McDermott era has really changed things up for the Bills and really shined, and I think it's just nice to see other players. We had Maeve Miller, who made such a name for himself, not only on the Broncos, but on the Rams, winning Super Bowls for both those teams, and he said, and I quote, he felt right at home as soon as he walked out of that tunnel. And I think that's just such a nice thing to hear as fans, because we really do put in a lot. Another quote I liked was from former wide receiver Zay Jones, and he just talked about Coach McDermott and what his mindset it was. He said, he's open with us and vulnerable. He tells us he's just a 5'10 college safety who never played at our level. So he's open to hearing from us because we're athletes. In the same way, he demands that same respect and vulnerability from us to be open with him. So it's a two-way street. Even though he's our leader and our boss, it's an open environment where we can communicate because we all want one common goal, and that's to win a championship. And I feel like that, you can just tell he's not just saying that. You can really see that in the way that they interact with the coaches, and even the way that they play. I don't know, obviously I'm biased, but there just seems like such a strong chemistry and just brotherhood. It's not just, athletes and players. It's like a family. And I think that you can see that even with Tre'Davious White, who played with the Bills and now came back, and Micah Hyde, who re-signed with the Bills for 1 year, even though he wasn't even going to play. He said this is home for him. Another thing, Stephon Diggs, even though, his experience is a little rocky, he said it was the most fun and productive football he's ever played. And in this video, you can see him. This is when he takes a fan out of the stands and just plays with him on the field, throws him a couple catches. And, even though teams that have the best ending experience, I feel like someone like Stephon Diggs can even look back on his experience and just know that the fans were behind him, his back, they had him. And, I think they really did make an impact. I think probably the biggest story we have out of Buffalo these days is Damar Hamlin and just what he went through. And he said, I don't think anyone could expect that kind of love, but now I understand why guys who come to Buffalo never want to leave. This city embraced me and my family like we were their own. Buffalo is home. And this is what he said on the Today Show in 2023. And I just think that, his story is so unique and special, and fans just really rallied around him. And even though we don't know what his journey will be in the future, he said he really wants to stay with Buffalo. And, if he plays as strong, I love the guy. I think he, brought a lot of light to Buffalo, and in a turn, Buffalo brought a lot of light on him. So I'd love to see him stay, but hopefully he'll have a good season. And I just think a big part of Buffalo is the fans, which leads me into my next point, which is about Bills Mafia's role, which cannot be understated. Obviously, like I said, I'm biased, but I do think we have the best fans in the world. There's just no one else that's doing it like them. Buffalo is kind of, looked down on at some points. But I feel like the Bills are like the one major thing that they have going on, and everyone just rallies behind them. I'm here in Chicago, and we have multiple teams: the Bears, Cubs, Sox, Blackhawks. But the Bills, Buffalo just has the Bills and the Sabres, and the Sabres aren't as good this year. So I feel like they really have been rallying around the Bills, and I think Josh Allen and McDermott play a huge role in that, just uplifting. And obviously, when they play good football, it always makes the fans come out a little more. I think a big thing that the Bills Mafia is known for is that, they jump through tables and they're messy and they get drunk at games, but they also are one of the most generous fan bases. I don't even know, they might be the most generous fan base. There's been so many instances where they've donated money. I think a really notable one was after the Andy Dalton and the Bengals broke the Bills' 17-year playoff drought by throwing a touchdown to beat the opposing team. Bills Mafia donated $1 million to his charity of choice. Another one, this article says Baltimore radio host overwhelmed by donations from Bills Mafia. And this was after he called Buffalo a city of losers, even though he said it was taken out of context. Obviously, that still hurts. But instead, the Bills chose to kill him with kindness and ended up donating thousands of dollars to a charity that for Alzheimer's that affected his mother. And I think that just really shows the kind of fans we are. People are used to hating on the Bills. We hear 4 years in a row all the time. I still hear it from people, even though I wasn't even born during that era. Hear it all the time. And I think just the Bills choose to, put that in the past and just try to move forward. Obviously, that generational trauma does kind of live through us from our parents and grandparents, but they just choose to take it on the cheek and move on. There's been other times the Bills donated thousands, I think almost millions of dollars to the Children's Hospital to honor Josh Allen's grandmother who had passed away, and he was just so overwhelmed by this love. I think most recently there was a time in the Bills playoff game against the Ravens, Mark Andrews dropped a pass that many believed could have won the game for them, and he received so much hate and so many death threats, and the Bills ended up donating thousands of dollars again to his charity of choice that helps diabetes, just because they felt bad for him. Damar Hamlin, they donated $9 million to his toy drive. I could literally go on and on. That was not even half the examples of what Bills Mafia has done. But I think that just shows that they're not just the fan base that jumps through tables. Yes, we do that, but we're also such good people and really care about not only our own team, but other players and what they're going through. I also think a big part is the Bills shoveling out their stadium. We get massive snowstorms in Buffalo, and they get paid $10 an hour, and then maybe get a hot dog, and they shovel out their seats. You can see them sitting in the snow. They have their barely even any coats on, but that's just the kind of team and fans they are. They grew up, going to games like this, and it doesn't even they don't even bat an eye. 5 foot snow in Buffalo from the lake effect, and they're coming out on Sunday like nothing's even happening. Yeah, they have to shovel out a little snow, but whatever, it's all worth it for them. I just think that's so incredible and unique. I'm hoping that maybe their next stadium has a little more heater so they don't have to do this, but I just think it's such a good example, and I love this picture of them just sitting in the snow like nothing's even bothering them. I also think the way that Bills Mafia travels is so incredible. This picture is taken in Los Angeles, and it says, "Still in awe of the tailgate in LA. No amount of distance from Buffalo can keep Bills Mafia apart. Great day to be a Buffalo fan and great day for a Bills win." In this picture, you can see thousands of fans. It's insane. And as someone who lives in Chicago and has to go to a lot of away games, I've been to Indianapolis, Detroit, Chicago. It sometimes feels like a home game. There's so many fans, and even Alan has said that there's always blue in the crowd. You can always see in that they end up turning away games into home games. The energy, the loudness, and just the amount of fans they have. And I just think that is so special. I literally could talk about this for the next hour about just how special the Bills team really is. But I like to see that, rookies, players like Maxwell Harrison, who was recently drafted, new cornerback for the Bills, he said, "I know that Bills Mafia has the best fan base in the NFL." And I just think I love that, players that are drafted going into this, I feel like they just know it's going to be a positive experience. The fans have their back, they know the team chemistry, and, the staff is right there with them. So I just think that this video was kind of to highlight Bills Mafia, and, we've won no Super Bowls, but I think our fan base comes out stronger each year. And I just think as we get a little closer, the fans are more eager, and that's why they're showing out. They're going to Miami, they're going to Los Angeles, they're going to Indianapolis, because they want to show their support. And, if they can be a small factor in the Bills winning that Super Bowl, they want to. So I'm really excited to see how Bills Mafia travels this year, and I'm excited to be a part of it and bring that energy to home and in away games. Once again, please subscribe to our Bills Digest YouTube channel at Bills Digest, and go Bills.